Sorry? There's a lot of cameras today. Good view though.
Governor right here. Yeah, so like how,
Hi everyone, if you can take a few steps this way. A few steps this way. I should just kind of let people feel like
filtering, yeah, you don't want to get Nicole's like, get you.
But I won't be actually.
yes, got it.
Constant Zoom meetings. Ends at 11:30, so we can start the next conversation.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, we just opened a Florida.
I'm Debbie. Nice to meet you. Primary charge.
We focus on climate resilience,
Yeah, no,
vehicle,
I used to run like the proper funding.
we're national in scope. Way back to the secretary to everything.
I think it makes a lot of sense.
Solve everything
I just recently stopped traveling with my water management district map. That was like in my car. It's impressive.
I remember when we
Only one. We'll
I'm just gonna let you
we'll
know.
see who battles it out.
Got that. They just plan for that. Plan for everybody to be
And right, and if they're having all this people,
it's just fun. In this big restaurant called like Welcome Ron DeSantis. And I was like,
boy here in the back, the girl here up front.
There you go.
I haven't.
yeah, right in like downtown Miami.
I know, you're taking it. I always have it on. Oh, okay.
I was trying to decide whether I need my suit jacket for both the show. I said no, and then Chris showed up. Joe's suit jacket.
say that. Famous figure signings.
When they take requests for my music.
Because I've been in South Florida.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, they're trying to get. They got one, and then in the South Florida region. That would not have been horrible. Their house is there. Yeah. The TV studio in the fridge.
The ring birds.
Well, Mike Lee's Jim Mardo is on that.
You're always ready. No one like it's perfected the like hands and holding in front. No, because otherwise she's comfortable and covered.
I mean, they,
And I think he's all over it.
Yeah.
characters here. Hey. You guys get... Well, what a day. What a great day to be in Tarpon Springs at Rusty Belly's Waterfront Grill. And people are having a great time here, and they have a great staff, so we're excited. We got a lot of great people here. Our Speaker of the House, Chris Sprowls. This is your district, right? Yeah, that's his district. Wanted to make sure of that because I know these bills are important to him. We also have President Wilton Simpson, whose district obviously is Pasco County, Senator Ed Hooper, Senator Ray Rodriguez, Senator Darrell Roussan, Representatives Cheney, Coster, Busada Cabrera, Tomko, Latvala. We also have, who's that? Chief Resilience, Miami-Dade. That's Chicken Scratch, I'm sorry. Jim. We also have Noah Valenstein, DEP, Mark Raines, our Chief Science Officer for the state of Florida, Julie Wraithmel, Executive Director, Audubon, Florida, Alec Bogdanoff, Florida Lead, American Flood Coalition, Don Sharefs, Florida Director, Environment Defense Fund, Rod Braun, Nature Conservancy, Randy DeShazo, Director of Planning and Research, Tampa Regional Planning Council, Dr. Tom Frazier, USF, formerly Chief Science Officer in the state of Florida. So that's an awful lot of folks. We want to thank you for being here. As soon as I took office, we developed a bold agenda to be good stewards of Florida's environment. And a key component of that agenda has been recognizing and addressing coastal resiliency and flood mitigation. We're a very flood-prone, storm-prone state. We wanted to be able to take action to help protect our folks. So today, we probably take the most significant steps that have been taken in Florida in quite some time. We're establishing immediate and multi-year plans to tackle statewide flooding and coastal resilience. In working with the President and the Speaker, the legislature delivered on my calls for meaningful, significant investments in resiliency by delivering 3 major bills and over $640 million, marking 2021 as the most significant year for resiliency in recent memory. The centerpiece of this collaboration is the Resilient Florida Grant Program. For the legislative session, I included in my budget recommendations the proposal to establish this important program. It was clear that President Simpson and Speaker Sprowls shared our vision, and with their leadership during session, the legislature came through strong by sending this bill to my desk. And so we will sign SB 1954 the bill establishing the Resilient Florida Grant Program. This will help fund local resiliency projects throughout the state. Local governments and local communities understand the impacts that flooding can have on their communities, and this new grant program will allow the state to partner with those local governments in our shared mission to address coastal resiliency and the protection of our coastal communities, infrastructure, and residents. The Resilient Florida Grant Program will be administered by the Department of Environmental Protection. The department will produce a resiliency work program funding $100 million worth of projects every single year. Similar to the transportation work program, input from local and regional stakeholders will be important in understanding the needs of coastal communities and developing a priority ranking list program. Through this legislation, there's also strong academic partnership created through the establishment of the Florida Flood Hub for Applied Research and Innovation at the University of South Florida. This new research hub will incorporate some of the brightest academic and scientific minds in flood mitigation to complement state efforts with high-quality data and research support for Florida's robust resiliency efforts. This potentially could make Florida a national leader in research, analysis, and integration in terms of integrating that with public policy. We're also signing the Resilient Florida Trust Fund and dock stamp distributions legislation, and this supports what we're doing. It creates Resilient Florida Trust Fund within DEP. Monies deposited in the trust fund are available to be used as a funding source for the Resilient Florida Grant Program, also for flooding and coastal resilience, also for regional resilience efforts, and then costs to operate the grant program, including planning and development. So this trust fund will be the primary funding source for grants through the Resilient Florida Grant Program. Will also support administrative and operational costs for the newly created Florida Flood Hub for Applied Research and Innovation. Now, to advance these efforts, $500 million are directed to seed the Resilient Florida Trust Fund, and then this amount will be on top of the $116 million in dock stamp distributions redirected to the Resilient Florida Trust Fund by way of SB 2512, which will be signed soon. In addition to the $116 million allocated to the Resilient Florida Trust Fund, SB 2512 directs another $116 million to Florida's Water Sustainability and Accountability Trust Fund, supporting the wastewater grant program. And so that was obviously one of my priorities, also a priority of Senator Simpson. So I'm proud that this priority of Senator Simpson has been brought to fruition. We think that this will have a positive impact on many communities throughout the state of Florida. So in total, this is a really significant amount of resources. We're really putting our money where our mouth is when it comes to protecting the state of Florida, and particularly our coastal communities, from the risks of flooding, on storms. And I think it's a really great day. It's a really historic day. We're going to let some of the folks who are a part of this come up and say a few words before I put pen to paper. So, Speaker.
Thank you, Governor.
Yep.
Well, thank you all, and Governor, I appreciate you being here. It's great to be here in Tarpon Springs, which is my hometown, in Pinellas County, which is, of course, the town, the county you were born in. It's also great to be here at Rusty Bellies, here in Tarpon Springs, just down the street from my house. On the left side of us and behind us is the Anclo River, which dumps into the Gulf of Mexico. Here in Florida, for many people, including Jack and Julie Russell, who started here and own and operate Rusty Bellies, the water is not just a lifestyle, but it's a way of life. We're blessed to be surrounded by beautiful oceans, by lakes, streams, and rivers all across our state. For Floridians, for many of the people who are eating and drinking over there, the water is as common as a backyard barbecue. Many families, mine included, come out here and enjoy the natural wonders that our state has to offer. But with these blessings comes great responsibility for each one of us to do what we can to protect our beautiful waterways and sustain us, but also to protect our neighborhoods and protect our businesses from the might of Mother Nature. With sea level rise, we see our risks grow exponentially, from storm surge and tidal flooding to groundwater and flash flooding. Every time there's a significant rainstorm here in Tarpon Springs, we're at the end of the sponge docks, the most western tip of the sponge docks here in Tarpon, you will see those streets down there flood. Cars can't get through, businesses can't operate. It brings commerce to a standstill. We can debate all day the whys and how this happens, but what if we just do that and we just debate it all day, we wouldn't do anything. That's not what we're doing here today. Our communities are at grave risk, and the legislation here today that the governor will sign acknowledges that. There is no question of if it will happen, if we will have significant flooding in our state. The question is only when. Much like hurricanes, we know they will happen. The question is where will they happen and how bad will they be? And while we look forward and we always plan for these disasters, so too we must plan for resiliency and coastal flooding throughout our state. I'm reminded of that Latin phrase, semper paratus, which is the motto of the United States Coast Guard, which means always ready. In February, I joined with our Florida House members who are here today, including Demi Busada Cabrera, Senator Ray Rodriguez, Senator Simpson, who we offered an op-ed together during the course of the summer on sea level rise and flooding, to announce our Always Ready agenda, the most robust plan in the history of our state to mitigate the effects of flooding and sea level rise throughout the state. To combat this problem, we need real solutions. To protect Floridians in their homes, their backyards, and their communities, as well as financially with their insurance, these bills address the impacts of flooding and sea level rise with policy, plans, and state dollars. A lot of state dollars. The legislature will invest $100 million each year to tackle these problems and the effects they cause. The governor mentioned the $29 million, which will set up the program to allow local governments, cities like Tarpon Springs, to do risk assessments about their communities and the flooding that's happening, and to submit those to regional entities who can vet them, so we have experts looking at them, and then ultimately submit those to Noah Valenstein and the Department of Environmental Protection so we can do the projects that are most going to be beneficial to our community. We also appropriated, as the governor mentioned, $500 million out of the coronavirus relief money to help sustain the program in the future. We also require the Department of Environmental Protection to conduct a comprehensive statewide flood, vulnerability, and sea level rise assessment. What does that mean? It means we're going to go out there and we're going to get the best state-of-the-art data that's possible so that we can begin to build solutions around the right information so that we can make the right choices. The assessment will identify the state's inland and coastal infrastructure and communities that are vulnerable to flooding. This will help us better assess threats and figure out a plan that is both responsive and effective. We will then submit those to those regional resiliency coalitions so that the work can be done locally before it ends up in Tallahassee. While water touches all corners of our state, the needs of each are different. This bill will allow accurate reflections of each individual community so that the planning and the infrastructure investments that are made could help that specific community and their needs. Finally, the bill creates the Florida Flood Hub for Applied Research and Innovation with the University of South Florida's College of Marine Science, which is down the road here a little while in St. Petersburg at their USF St. Pete campus, will be the home of that Innovation Flood Hub. We knew that we could no longer stand idly by and not plan for the future, that we needed to be always ready. I want to thank Governor DeSantis for supporting not just this always ready flooding agenda to prepare our state and our residents for the future, but for being a true champion for Florida's environment. I've been prepared to defend this anywhere. This governor has been the most environmentally friendly governor that we have ever had in the state of Florida. He's been a champion for the environment and its natural beauty, but he's also helping us now protect our communities from flooding and sea level rise. I want to congratulate Representative Demi Busada Cabrera, who as a freshman lawmaker from South Florida carried this very big and complicated bill through the legislature and did so with great poise. I also want to thank Representative Linda Cheney, who also partnered with Mike Twitty, our property appraiser here in Pinellas County, to come up with a constitutional amendment that will allow everyday Floridians to make upgrades to their homes and be free from additional taxation as a result of those upgrades, as well as Chairman Buchanan and Masulos, whose committees oversaw this product as it moved to the legislature. Again, Governor, thank you for doing this. Thank you for being part of the agenda. And President Simpson, thank you for being such an amazing partner in the Senate.
Thank you, guys, and I'll be a little brief. First of all, I want to thank Chairman Ray Rodriguez. He carried this legislation in the Florida Senate. Senator Hooper lives in Pinellas County and is a resident here. And I believe Senator Albritton, which has been a key component of our environmental oversight, was a big key. But with this legislation, we are finally elevating flood mitigation as a critical part of Florida's public safety infrastructure. I'm grateful to Speaker Sprowls and his vision as we talked through this summer. It was something that was very important for both of us, whether you're on the sea level, on the coast, at the beach, or you're inland and just have flooding problems. This is very important for us. With 35 coastal counties containing the majority of our population and economy, our risks are only going to increase. Over time, the combined effects of sea level rise, storm surges, and extreme rain events will have a significant impact. As lawmakers, we have a duty and a responsibility to plan for the future to address emerging public safety issues. It was an honor this year, Speaker, to work with you and your team and House members and Governor. The Speaker said it well. You've been the most environmental friendly governor we've ever had, and we appreciate your leadership on this issue. Thank you.
Great. All right. Great.
Leadership starts at the top. We have a governor that has championed our environment, a president of the Senate who has supported that effort, and a speaker with a vision of what we needed to do on the issue of coastal flooding and resiliency. I'm proud to have played a part. I think this legislation is going to benefit Floridians for generations to come. Thank you.
All right. Cabrera.
Thank you. Thank you so much. It's quite the honor to be here today. It's quite the pinch me moment, not only because I'm surrounded by so many amazing leaders in our state, but what we're accomplishing as a state. Combating flooding and sea level rise, that's something that has been long overdue in our state, and we are about to be leaders in flood mitigation. And to get that done, it takes the right leadership at every level. Thank you, Speaker Sprowls, for giving me the opportunity to have a small part in this and entrusting me with that. Thank you to our governor for always protecting our environment and putting our communities first. And thank you, President Simpson, for making sure that this is a priority. You know, we've used a lot of words. We've probably used every word in the thesaurus for foundational, transformational, groundbreaking. And we use those words because it's true. Because everyone here today understands that it's time to act. That it's time to make sure that we protect our homes. It's time to make sure that we protect our communities. It's time to make sure that we don't leave future generations with nothing. It's time to protect our state as a whole. It's time to make sure that we're always ready. Thank you.
Get in the picture.
All right.
You guys who wrote the bill. All right. Well. Got some stuff here. All right. So today is the 12th, correct? All right. One down. Okay, that's a big deal right there. I'll tell you what. Good job. Yes. All right. Anyone else? Okay. I got more. Yes, I will.
You wouldn't mark my golf ball.
Yeah.
He's got a whole collection.
Who's that? Rusan and then Hooper.
Golf ball marker.
All right. One more. You know what we do? I'm going to give it to the Red Sea Pelican. There you go. All right. Thanks. Well, what a great day! Very historic. We're really excited. We did so much. This wasn't necessarily even something that was that much talked about. But I think it's going to have a profound impact. Also, we have declared a state of emergency regarding to the pipeline. Now that hack occurred, and the pipeline is not necessarily in Florida, but obviously it affects our state. We have cleared the way for more fuel to be developed or to be delivered, and we're standing by to do whatever we can. But we really do need the federal government to step up. Initially, they were acting like it was just a private matter. I mean, no, this is a critical infrastructure for our country that was attacked. It can interrupt people's daily lives and our economy. So we really want to see some good action there, and we'll continue to be standing by to respond to anything that we can do. But we have done the emergency, and we are seeing some bigger trucks bring more fuel in. I also wanted to just make a comment about what's happening in the Middle East. I have friends over there who've been having to hide out in bomb shelters overnight because of Hamas, which is a terrorist group raining down rockets on civilians. And make no mistake, Hamas is a terrorist group. They are at fault on this. Israel has every right to defend itself against Hamas. And I think if you look at what's going on here, it really isn't so much about Israel. It's about Hamas trying to stake a claim to be the leader of the entire Palestinian Authority. They kind of have their little place down in Gaza where they foment a lot of terrorism. They've had a lot of problems going on with the Palestinian Authority. I think this is Hamas's attempt to capitalize on that. But our ally Israel has a right to defend themselves, and what's going on by Hamas is an absolute disgrace. And with that, I'll take a couple questions.
Governor, on the issue of the pipeline, we have an idea of how quickly you expect the supply to return, and are you concerned about cybersecurity as
Cybersecurity is a huge issue, and if you talk to folks who, both in the public and private sector, the number of attempted intrusions is huge, even on a daily basis. And so you always have hostile folks who are trying to do whatever they can to interrupt, in this case, critical infrastructure, which is obviously a huge target. They do financial institutions, they do regular businesses, they do government agencies. The state of Florida has repelled a lot of cyber attacks. So it is a huge issue. We've done more for cybersecurity in the budget. This is an issue that's going to be with us, and we're going to continue to do it. In terms of the time frame, I've not been given firm guidance on that. I think there is an issue of You do see shortages, but you also, that's compounded with some panic buying. And I think what we would just say is, look, if you need gas, get it, but you don't need to be hoarding it right now. That's going to make it worse. People are working to be able to make sure that all these stations, have the fuel that we need.
Governor, I want to ask you about those individuals who are receiving unemployment and they're going to have to start looking for jobs again. Any concerns or thoughts about those who, in order to go back to work or look for work, but they can't because maybe their kid is still out in school and might be here?
So, well, obviously, I think we look. I mean, it's been a tough time period for everybody, but we've worked very hard to provide the opportunities for families because we understood how important it is to have kids being able to go to school in person, and that's something that's very, very significant. But we're also looking at the situation now where I haven't asked Rusky, I haven't asked, but I would imagine you probably need help, right?
That is the biggest problem we're dealing
Yeah.
with right now is where the lack of people that are classified to do the job being able to come back to work. We have jobs open.
Yeah.
We just need the staff, and a lot of them are collecting money that we either can't compete with or they just don't have work.
So I think at the end of the day is you look back where we were in April of 2020. I mean, there were things that were shutting down, the theme parks, all this stuff. People stopped coming for travel, for tour. So we had a huge problem here and really throughout the country. Now we're in a much different situation. There is not a single part of Florida that I go to where I don't hear that exact same concern about we have openings, we need people to fill them. And so I think that looking for work is important. I think it's something that needs to be done. I would much rather pay a workforce transition payment to incentivize people to go back to work than continue with the unemployment if we have all these job openings. And so we're in a much different situation today than we were a year ago. Look, it's not great, because there's some restaurants that actually have to close and they can't stay open as much, and there's other businesses, and it's not just restaurant industry, it's all across. I was out in Okeechobee County. We were doing at the cattle ranch. They want more people as well, and they've had a tough time doing it. So I think you're seeing that across the board. So it's an issue that we just want to make sure the incentives are aligned properly. We want to make sure that that reemployment assistance is that with an eye towards reemploying you, which is very, very important. But there's no doubt that if I had to choose a problem between too many job openings or nobody being able to get a job, we're in a better situation now. And it's because our state has been open. We've been able to have people, businesses open, people been able to work. They've been able to live their lives, make decisions about what's best for them and their family. And that has led us to the point, even with cruise lines being shut down, which is one of our major industries, and we're suing to open that. We actually have a case going on right now. Even with that, Florida's unemployment is significantly less than the national average. I mean, can you imagine if we got to get the cruise lines open, get our ports back, and then we get, folks transition back to work? I mean, man, we're going to have a real full employment economy. So it's within our grasp. We just got to make the right decisions. Okay, thanks, everybody. I appreciate it.
It's a new WeWork space.
Yeah.
So fine.
No problem.
Hey, how are you doing? Good to see you.